Welcome to Stormwater Drainage Solutions. In this video, I'm going to be explaining how a French drain works and why perforated PVC pipe should be avoided when building a French drain and how it fails. Let's get started. So there are two versions of perforated PVC pipe that you can use for either leach field applications or French drain applications. Now, using PVC for a leach field for a septic system, that's your sanitary sewer, makes a lot more sense than using it for a French drain application. Now I'm going to elaborate on this and I'm going to explain and I'm going to demonstrate why in this video. So this is the first version you have. You have holes on the sides. There's no hole going down the middle on the bottom. That's it. The other version you have, which I have rigged up in my demonstration tub right here, is you have holes running down the middle on the bottom and you have holes on the side. That is the only difference between the two. Now, I'm going to demonstrate using the PVC with perforations on the sides and the bottom why PVC pipe is no good to use in a French drain application. But before I demonstrate that, I'm going to first explain something about a French drain. Okay, so this is what I'm going to explain to you about a French drain. This is French Drain Man high octane slotted pipe. It has perforations 360 degrees around the entire pipe. Now, this black tote here, this is your trench, right? Right here. This is the trench. This is the bottom of the trench. And this is groundwater. So this is subsurface water. This is water under the ground, and it's causing your yard to be mushy. It's causing the area to be saturated. And this is the problem. Let's say my hand is the ground. That's why it's mushy, because you have subsurface water under the ground. Now, water seeks its own level. If I tilt this bin off to the side here, the water level adjusts because the water is seeking its own level. If I bring it back down, the water level adjusts because it seeks its own level. It's going to do the same thing in the bottom of your French drain trench. Now, obviously, this would be surrounded with stone. Your French drain would be surrounded with stone. So when I put this perforated French drain pipe into this demonstration trench full of water, what's the first thing that you notice? Well, the first thing I notice is the water is going to start from the bottom and it's going to rise in that trench and it's going to make its way through this pipe. The next thing I notice is, let me see if I can get this on the camera. That pipe is practically completely filled with water because your French drain trench is completely filled with water. The water is going to travel freely through the voids in the stone and ultimately make its way into the pipe through the perforations. Now let's lift this pipe out of here for a second. Let's see what happens. You lifted it up out of the water, all that water came out of the pipe, right? So let's put it back down in the water. So it's back down in the French drain. It's surrounded with gravel and a geotextile filter fabric to keep the soil and dirt from migrating into that stone. That water is going to travel like this through that entire French drain trench, through the stone, and ultimately through the pipe, because this is the biggest void and it's the easiest area for water to get into and to travel. Notice the water can't travel through the bin because it's solid. There's no way for it to get through there. There's no void. If there was a crack in this bin, that water would start to make its way through that crack because it's a void. If there was a hole in this bin, the water would start to make its way through that hole because it's a void. All the pipe is in your French drain trench is a large void in the ground for water to easily travel through. That's all this perforated pipe is. All these slots that are around that pipe just allow water to flow through it. Water's liquidy, so it's gonna just flow through. I'm trying to explain in this video as much as possible because we get so many comments on not only my videos, but Robert's videos with the French Drain Man, Sam's videos with Sam's French Drains and Landscapings, Brent with Older Home Specialists. He's out in California. We get so many comments about how a French drain works and misunderstandings on how they work that this video, I'm attempting to try to clear that up. And let's not forget Nick out in North Carolina with Drain My Lawn. He is awesome. So this video is attempting to clear up the confusion behind how a French drain works. But that's the gist of a French drain. A French drain is going to collect subsurface water. It's going to collect groundwater. The pipe becomes the biggest void in the ground. The stone that surrounds the pipe are smaller voids for that water to travel in through and get into the pipe. But ultimately, when that groundwater rises, and there's a lot of groundwater, it's going to flow like this through both the pipe, the stone, the perforations in that pipe, the whole 9 yards. That's how a French drain works. Now, PVC pipe only has holes on the bottom. This is a problem for a few reasons. Now, obviously, it's going to let water in. Granted, a lot slower, for one, because the water has to rise to get into that pipe. So it has to rise high enough for starters. And ignore this hole right here. The reason that hole is there is because I drilled that so I could hang it on the wall where the rest of my pipes are. So, because this is one of my example pipes. Now, those holes are on the side. So that water level on this particular perforated PVC pipe already has to get up to that point for the water to slowly start getting into those voids. It can't enter in through halfway up the side. It can't enter in through the top. And on this particular one, it really can't even enter in through the bottom because there's no holes on the bottom. On that one right there, there is holes on the bottom, so it could enter in through the bottom right off the bat. But let me go ahead and let me show you what happens over time to a PVC French drain using my demonstration here. Sediment, sand, and dirt. Dirt, not so much. Sediment for sure. Maybe a little bit of sand. It depends how the installer installed the French drain. It depends on the aggregate. It depends if geotextile filter fabric was used, if non-woven was used. If woven was used, and probably nothing's getting in, not even water. So I want to try to keep this as simple as possible. I don't want to confuse a lot of people. You'll hear about French drains being built out of pea gravel, tiny stone, to make a stone filter layer where you do not need geotextile filter fabric. I'm not going to go over any of that. There's sand French drains. There's all kinds of different French drains. I'm going to keep this basic because we don't want to confuse people here because there's so many different types. So we want to make this as simple as possible. But let's just say we have that PVC pipe in the ground surrounded with stone. Now, if it has fabric on it, that's cool. There's still always going to be some sediment that gets into a French drain, whether you have geotextile fabric or not. That's just the reality of it. The geotextile fabric keeps out the majority of the sediment and sand and dirt. Basically, only fines are going to get in there, and there's not going to be a whole lot once the soil filter zone has built up on the sides. But we're not getting into that in this video because, like I said, I'm not trying to confuse people. I'm trying to make this as simple as possible. So let me go ahead and let me get some sand And let me show you what happens with PVC pipe over time in a French drain, regardless if it's built with geotextile filter fabric or not. If it wasn't built with geotextile fabric, it's gonna happen even quicker. Okay, so I have the hose running in here with nothing in it because I want you to see what happens. Notice there's no water coming in yet because it has to rise in the trench. Once the water begins to rise in the trench, it will begin to enter those perforations. That's how water enters a French drain. Water does not enter in from the top, it enters in from the bottom up. Eventually it will enter in from the top once the water level gets high enough in said trench, in said French drain, but until then it's going to enter in from the bottom. And we're on an incline here, so it's coming in on only one perforation. So let me go ahead and let me tilt this up and let's see what happens. Now it's coming in a little bit more. Let me turn the water up. Let me go ahead and let me increase the rainfall so that more water rises in the trench. So now the rainfall has increased, the groundwater level has risen, so it should be coming in on multiple perforations of said pipe. Notice the holes are facing down. Anytime you build a French drain, if you are going to be using PVC pipe or a similar pipe, like triple wall pipe only has holes on the bottom. There's certain kinds of muck pipe that only has holes on the bottom. If you're going to be using a French drain that only has holes on one side, then you want those holes facing down because the water rises. Now here's a perfect example of why you want your pipe at the bottom of the trench. If your pipe is at the bottom of the trench, you're going to evacuate out the most water possible. As you can see, the rain event has ended. The groundwater level is lowering, and now we're down to a trickle. Okay, so we went ahead and we introduced some sediment and sand into the French drain. As you can see, the sediment is heavy, so it's always going to want to sit on the bottom, and it's going to want to stay on the bottom because it's heavy. Now this French drain, let's say this French drain is 5, 6, 7 years old. This is probably a little excess sediment, but nonetheless, this is what's going to ultimately happen over the years. Now, as you can see, that first hole on the very bottom of the pipe gets covered immediately. So let's go ahead and let's simulate some groundwater going in here. Okay, so we have groundwater entering our demonstration here. Now, try to imagine that this French drain is, let's just say, a 50-foot run, 50 to 100 feet of this. Now notice how long that took for the water to finally come through. And notice how the water is coming in on the sides of that French drain. It's not coming in through the holes on the bottom. It's only coming in through the sides. So look how high that water level had to rise in order for that water to start coming in through the sides. And keep in mind, this is a small demonstration piece, and I'm introducing a lot of water to it. So you can see that sand is moving, that sediment is moving. But in a 50 to 100 foot run, it would not move quite that easily. And you can see the area at the bottom right there where it is holding and it is not wanting to move. Okay, so more time has gone by. This French drain has now been in the ground for years. More sediment has built up at the bottom, as you can see. Now let's go ahead and let's add water. Let's simulate groundwater rising in our trench. And let's see what happens. Now I do suspect that we will get a trickle something will end up coming in here, I would imagine, but it's probably going to take a minute. Now, try to imagine if this was a 50 or 100 foot run of French drain pipe that was filled with sediment like this. Maybe the entire thing isn't filled with sediment. Maybe only sections are filled, 10, 15 foot sections in different areas of that pipe. But think about how much that is going to hinder your drainage performance in your yard, commercial property, wherever it is. I think we have a tiny bit of water coming out right here. A very, very tiny bit of water is coming through all that sediment that has covered those perforations. And in the meantime, look at your groundwater. That's your groundwater level. Well, some water's coming through. Not a whole lot though. A very, very small amount of water is entering this PVC French drain because it only has holes on the bottom. The problem with using PVC pipe for French drain applications is it only has holes on the bottom. Look how high your groundwater is. The area would be super mushy. Now there is water coming through, finally, but look how long it took. I mean, the bin is going to overflow here soon. So now what we're going to do is we're going to shut the hose off. Here, let's just take it out. So let's see how long it takes for that groundwater to lower, and let's see how much groundwater remains in the ground around this French drain with all this sediment in it. I mean, you can see it's still moving water, but not as much water as it should move. With the groundwater level this high, this pipe should be this high because water seeks its own level. If this pipe was in here and it had this sediment built up in it, the groundwater this high would be this high in this pipe because of these perforations. And I'm going to be doing a demonstration just like this with this high octane slotted pipe so we can compare the two differences here. So right now, if you had this as your drain in your yard, commercial job site, wherever it is, the area, the ground would be mushy. It's literally only draining on one hole. The one hole on this side is where it's coming in at. Here at Stormwater Drainage Solutions, we want to give you guys examples, both real world examples and demonstrations like this, to show you what happens with these types of systems over time. We want to show you not only the successes, but the failures as well, because we want our clients to be educated and we want them to understand how this works. Okay, so I've been waiting for a little bit, and I think that's about it. Our French drain is no longer taking in any more water. We'll go ahead and take a look in there and see. I don't see any more water coming through. And this would be the groundwater level wherever this drain was installed at. And it would be mushy like that. If we had high octane French drain man slotted pipe in here instead, I can tell you this right now, the groundwater level would not be this high. It would probably be more along the lines of maybe here. Perforated PVC shines when it comes to building leach fields. Whenever you're trying to control the rate at which water is going to be leaching out of a pipe into the ground, perforated PVC pipe is the way to go. Building septic systems, the leach fields for a sanitary sewer septic system. This is where perforated PVC shines. For French drains and exterior drainage done right in the Tampa Bay area, give Stormwater Drainage Solutions a call at 813-614-3456. We specialize in French drains, downspout drains, channel drains, catch basins, storm drains, anything exterior drainage related. We got you covered. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and you gained some knowledge from watching it. And if you did, give us a thumbs up. It really supports us. It helps the channel out. We have a lot of great content on the way. So if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do so. And until next time, this is SWDS signing off.